7 coordinated terrorist attacks in Paris. 127 dead. Meanwhile, East and West are moving closer to war, engaged in brinksmanship and fighting proxy battles in the Middle East, while America undergoes the most divisive election in living memory. People are starting to wake up. But wake up to what? And where are we going? What are we supposed to do? It's worth revisiting history, with hindsight being 2020. September 11th. A bunch of Saudi nationalists, led by a relative of the Saudi royal family, fly airplanes into the Twin Towers. America, in response, launches a war against Iraq. This time around, a bunch of Syrian refugees, driven out of their country by a proxy war being fought there, American-backed rebels against the government who ally themselves with ISIS, our supposed enemies. They flee to Europe, where Merkel wants cheap labor, and then they commit terrorist acts in Paris. And so Paris starts attacking ISIS. We were told back on September 11th that after 9/11, Americans were angry. That we wanted war, and we were going to go get war, we were going to go get revenge. And so we attacked somebody that was completely unrelated. And then the Patriot Act was put through, completely shredding the civil liberties in this country. In France, the narrative is that the French are afraid. At a recent memorial service, they thought it was being attacked, and the people there stampeded, running all over the mementos and candles that they posted for the dead. And yet in America, there were people that were terrified. I remember an interview with a woman from Manhattan who had such bad PTSD from it she couldn't leave her apartment. And the fact of the matter is, in France, there are a lot of people who are angry. There are a lot of people who are showing solidarity, and a lot of people that have had enough of the traitors in government. Isn't it interesting that President Hollande of France was set to lose the next election, which is coming up very soon? He was going to lose it to the hard right. And now he's suspended elections. And what's going on in the Middle East? Well, what's going on is a proxy battle between Russia and America over oil, over pipelines. Russia wants a pipeline going to the Mediterranean, which they will control with their navy, which has recently been stationed there. While America wants a pipeline going up to Turkey, which the EU, a proxy for America, will control. They want to control the supply, the flow of oil and gas into Europe. And right at the heart of this is Syria. So Americans backing the Syrian rebels, indirectly, but the CIA is making sure they get weapons. The rebels are working hand in hand with ISIS, and whenever Americans do attack ISIS, they are using a funneling strategy to drive ISIS towards the Russian forces, who are trying to support the current Syrian government. All of this, of course, is extremely backed by Saudi oil money, if you remember the people behind September 11th. And if you look into the country itself, an absolutely despotic regime that abuses the guest workers who do all the actual labor to get that oil out of the ground. The refugees, meanwhile, managed to provide really cheap labor in Merkel's Germany, while she plans to dump them on the rest of Europe when she's done with them, and she pretends to be shocked at the terrorist attacks that we are experiencing. Islam, and ISIS specifically, are distinct existential threats to the West, to Christendom. And yet it's the enemies within our own gates that are truly the dangerous ones. It's the traitors that we have in the media and in government who are encouraging this invasion that are truly dangerous. But what are we supposed to do? Elect a populist leader? We tried that back in the 30s and we know how that turned out. No, we need to go a little bit deeper this time. You see, what we've been doing for the past 50 years is we've been playing at the geopolitical game like it's Sid Meier's Civilization, pulling puppet strings, manipulating countries as if they're city-states to be bought and paid for, manipulated for support in the UN, as if the populations within those countries were just blindly following whatever their politicians said. And you know, maybe that was true for quite a long time, but it's not true anymore. The populations have had enough of this game. It is time for the West to rediscover its moral center. Let me ask you, how does Trump make America great again? On his own, he doesn't. He's one man. How does the Pope fix problems within the church? He doesn't. He's one man. It's not the Pope's job to be an expert on economics. It's not your priest's job to tell you whether or not a certain loan is usury. It's up to the congregation. It's up to the church itself to fix things if it's corrupt. And if we want to make America great again, it is up to us to help Trump do that by being great ourselves. It's time to start organizing again. And isn't it funny that in all Western countries, we have the right to freedom of assembly? And yet the idea of a group of men who are law-abiding getting together to fight existential threats to their own nation? Well, I don't need to tell you that that terrifies the government. Freedom of assembly, as it's presently dictated to us, means that we're allowed to get together, to get drunk and get high and party. But a group of determined, patriotic, disciplined, honorable, law-abiding men, that terrifies them. In the West, we've replaced love with pornography. We've replaced patriotism with jingoism. And we've replaced honor with relativism. It's time for us to change that as individuals, to start organizing with other honorable men, and not allow these organizations to be corrupted by forced diversity, by forcing women into men's-only groups, and forcing multi-ethnic, multi-perspective corporations where everybody goes along to get along. We don't have the luxury of keeping our heads down anymore. We don't have the luxury of fear, of trying to do whatever keeps other people happy so that we don't get yelled at, so we don't get called racist, so that we don't get threatened with termination. Oh, you can keep your head down, but the half-life, it's getting shorter. Used to be almost nobody got trumped up for some BS human rights violation. But it's getting more and more frequent as time goes on. It doesn't matter if you keep your head down, you're not safe either. So stand with the people that are actually trying to make things better. Have the courage of your convictions. It's always been men who created civilizations. And it's up to the men of the West to help recreate this civilization. We need to organize. We need to band together. We need to defend the long-term interests of our blood, of our soil, of our nationality, of our religion. We need to make the West great again. And it's only through us doing what we can that Trump will be able to make America great again. Not a charismatic leader. It's not my job to tell you what to do. It's your job to figure that out for yourself. So, men of the West, keep your powder dry, because it's going to get hot soon. Aurini out.